Hello everybody, welcome to Gelvin Valley, Farming Simulator 15 once more. Gelvin Valley, map created by Wild Wild Wes, very picturesque as we can continue to see. We're in the middle of harvest. Gotta try to get this combine going again. Looks like there's a little window glare. Middle of barley harvest. And hoping we can turn a buck a little bit easier than we have in previous years. Let's see if I can get this fella going. Never know what good old courseplay is gonna do right when you start it up. Yeah, no combine in reach. Okay. Think he found what he needs to find. Just take a gander around. Oh yeah. That should fill up and then hopefully oh, it seems like every time this goes, I need to help him escort him out the door the first go around. You know, when I first started these videos, I believe it was in a harvest season. I think it was just the start of wheat harvest. I think that's the only crop that I had the last time. This is kind of the second year, if you will. Just making my way through the fields. You know, I sure wish I knew why the combine did that. That seems kind of silly, when I know it's just straight. But oh well, I guess I don't need to know, huh? I'm still heavily in debt, but I do have some stuff to sell. Won't get me out of debt. I'm just chipping away at it here. Trying to make my way in the world, as it were. Oh goodness, looks like I need to repair the tractor too. You know, that's going to put me even further in debt, but it's probably something I need to do. So, maybe what I'll... Oops. Yeah, that's not going to work. How about you head somewhere that isn't a fence? Yeah, right over the top of the crop. Yeah, even Courseplay is warning us that this needs some repairs. The SEMA tractor is significantly damaged, so I'm going to have to do something about that. I may modify it a little bit off cam, just in the XML file. No, let's see, will he know where to go? Oh, good grief. Oh, this is always a torment. Let me see. Yeah, well, the lad got himself stuck, so we're gonna move him back a wee bit. See, once the combine figures out the corner. Straight path. And you choose the fence. It just amazes me. Oh my goodness. What does it take to tickle Courseplay just right? There we go. There we go. Now, if I can keep him out of the ditch, we'll see where we can take him. I know, every time I come in here, I bellyache something about Courseplay, but this is a part of what it's doing right now that I really appreciate about it. So, tonight, this is another very late, early recording, however you look at it. It's after midnight, the house is quiet. There's been a lot of episodes I've recorded, kind of at this time. But this is the first episode I've recorded since last weekend. It's the first time I've touched Farming Sim since then. I haven't really done anything at all with it. Last weekend I shared, not that anybody's interested. You know what? I know everybody has their own stresses in life. but I talked about, some in ours, whether it's facing mortality and what it does to family members, when you have things like cancer to deal with and that. And then to top it off, at the end of the week, um, our puppy, one of our puppies was accidentally run over. I call it a puppy. It's really, oh, she was somewhere between 2.5 and 3 years old. And I gotta say, the dog in particular, um, it probably just because it's so symbolic at this point of so many other things going on, that are of much more consequence. But it has been so much tougher than I ever would have imagined. Uh, just dealing with the loss, seeing what it's done to my boys. And we have two of them. They were sisters, came from the same litter, so same age, if you will. Just two peas in a pod, and I think I described some of this, or hope I did, in the last video. I can't remember everything I talked about. And so we still have the one, but basically I got two boys still at home. My girls have grown up and they're out of the house now. Uh, so basically one dog was for one son and one was for the other, if you will. And they kind of adopted the one that they wanted, and so it just so happened, the one that passed was my youngest son's puppy, and he happened to be the lucky one, unlucky, more like it, to be there when she died. And maybe for his sake, uh, maybe maybe that was for the best. I don't know. Um, but more than that, I mean, they really, to the rest of us, are more family dogs than anything. And it's just been a learning thing for me because and I can't remember, like I say, what I commented on this in the previous episode. There has never been a dog in my life, and I'm 48 years old, that I've ever been this attached to, but didn't know it, if I can say it that way. And it's just weird, strange, whatever term you want to put to it, trying to figure out how to navigate some of that. And, just being transparent here, in the past, I guess let me just put it this way. I will never ever again think of somebody as being soft in the head when they grieve the loss of a pet. I don't care if it's so much as a hamster or a rat, whatever it is. Um, whatever it is that's been meaningful to them, that's brought value, to their life. Here, let me stop this guy. I'm going to take him in and get him a little repair while we're here. Because I think we need some. And brother, it's going to cost a small fortune. But it needs it. Let me see here. What's the key? Is it R? Oh, maybe I need to get out. I thought there was a key. Aha. Here we go. Repair vehicles. I gotta get in here. Oh my goodness, this is gonna hurt. 20,000 bucks. Oh, it even repaired the pickup. Yeah. Everything's repaired and all the way down to the... I think it also did the baler, probably the fuel wagon. Oh my goodness, I am all repaired up. Yeah, that hurt. But I think it was necessary. And some of it I think is, and this is why I don't want to call it cheating, Sometimes I've changed it off screen a little bit. I even alluded that I might do it this time too. Courseplay is such a bugaboo that it does things that I wouldn't do if I was literally driving it myself. So sometimes I don't feel bad taking some of the damage out, but wow. Anyway, it's whenever a person has some tragedy in their life, yeah, I don't know how you all deal with it or other people, so I can only speak for myself. I tend to be a more introspective type person just by nature. You know, maybe sometimes second guessing a decision I've made, wondering if it was right. That's maybe where some of that can come in. Where you spend a lot of time thinking about something and nobody else sees it. It's all going on in the mind. And only if you choose to share it with someone, they might, would they know, what you're going through or experiencing inside. But I've had opportunity to do a lot of that this past week. Both my wife and I, just trying to process this, observing how it impacted our our boys, and one of them was gone, during the time that she died, and it wasn't his, so I think he internalizes it a little bit differently than what my youngest does. And my youngest, and I wonder someday he'll probably listen to this and maybe even be embarrassed talking about him here. They, yeah, just don't know. A big purpose for which I make some of these videos is mainly to record things I know the family can listen to later. So who knows if he'll ever listen to this, so I can probably say a few things. But he's an outgoing type kid, more extroverted um, type. He likes talking, and especially about the things that he's interested in. Of course, I guess that's only natural. And he will talk about those things whether anyone else happens to be interested in them or not. That's just part of what he does. I think that's kind of the extroverted temperament, where they gain energy by talking and to others, being around other people, that kind of thing. Whereas that tends to be exhausting, for an introverted person. But when his puppy died, what was really interesting, just as a parent to observe is how it impacted him. And he went from being very talkative, very outgoing, to very quiet. He spent a little bit more time on his own. Um, Without others, he was kind of sullen. His answers to any questions that we had, would be one word, if at all. Sometimes just a shrug of the shoulder, whatever. And I mean, I'm no genius by any stretch of the imagination, but if you observe someone behaving in a pattern that's completely different from what you typically see, well, there's probably a reason. Okay, good. He's going ahead. I thought he wanted to back up. All right, he's figuring things out. So, and in the evening, he was, that the puppy died. He watched her die, but he was waiting for a ride to go to a church activity, and he was gone all evening. He got home when it was dark. We contacted him trying to see if, he wanted us to come get him, to bring him home. Once mom and dad figured out what was going on, we didn't realize that he had to sit there that whole evening with that hanging kind of over his head. My wife and I, as I explained in the last video, we went ahead and buried the puppy. But I don't know. Personally, we can't undo what happened. We can't redo how we handle things as a parent. I we've since have wondered if we should have just gone and picked him up, brought him home, and he could have been there, helped bury the puppy so that he could have some closure. But the last memory he had was of her dying. He hauled her to the woods, and then he had to go, and that's his last memory. It might have been nice if he could have, seen how we put her in there or whatever. But it's just interesting as a parent dealing with that. Whether it's with a kid or just with your own self. Kind of like I started this video. There has never been a dog in my life that impacted me more. We had dogs when I was a kid. I can think of several of them. And the lifespan of a dog, it probably depends on the breed. We all know they tend to come and go. Most of the time, you may have a few of them in your lifetime, um, but you're gonna have to deal with either a decision of having them put down, if they're in a lot of pain, or if you can't afford to get help them get the help they need. Um, and if as I think on it now, if every single one of those hurt like this one does, I'm not sure I want another dog. I mean, it can just be crushing, to lose something. And so like I mentioned, just the introspective nature of this, thinking about a pet, and more than a pet, it makes a man think of all sorts of other things. Oh, this combine has a mind of its own, and not a very good one. Let me get you in the crop here. One of the things my wife and I talked about is, why on earth does this one hurt worse than, the other dogs we've had? It just makes no sense. And, so there's been a number of things, we've thought about, the fact that we got them as puppies, the rest of them, we got them as grown dogs, so we didn't see them when they were little. So when they're little and you got to care for them more, it's almost like another child. Just in this case, this particular child stays outdoors, is quite a bit more autonomous and that kind of thing, and they can't talk back to you, um, but they sure know how to give love. So maybe some of that was the reason. Maybe the attachment we saw to our boys. Um, Maybe the fact that we had actually taken them to puppy school, had spent time training them, and there were certain things that they did just perfectly. Some of the things that we trained them on, for example, um, when we would feed them supper. I don't know how we got started doing this, and it's not even something that's necessary. It was just so doggone cute. Where you pour the food in the dog's dish, both of them at the same time. They always ate together. They did everything together, and we trained them to sit there and look up at us and wait until they couldn't start eating until we said okay. Just that simple word, okay. And what was funny sometimes is trying to trick them by saying other words that maybe even sound like that, like Okinawa, and watching them kind of jerk a little bit as they started, and then they realized that was a wrong word. And they just did awesome. I mean, there was a few times my son would pour the food in their dish, and he would literally head into the house, and they would sit out there for a little while, and then he would tell them okay through the window. And I mean, I don't know, it's just one of those endearing things. Every we had kennel trained them, so they spent the nights. I think I heard from one of my friends that some dogs like being in an enclosed space. Oops, here, sitting here wasting time. This combine sits up there full. That some dogs like, when they go to sleep or whatever, to have a close space. So we got them both their own kennel. And so that's probably what hits me the most a lot of times is at night. I didn't very often get them up in the morning. There was a lot of times I put them to bed at night, both of them. And so, I gotta say, and just being transparent here, because I don't know how others deal with. What are you doing, tractor? You are just one bizarre hired helper. I gotta say, it's hard to put just the one dog to bed now because we still have the other kennel sitting there, and it just sits there almost like a mockery. Not a mockery. I mean, it's just a remembrance, if you will, and makes me think of her sister and how I don't get to put her to bed. If at night around here the crickets come out to sing, and somehow I've associated those crickets with her. She was a very curious dog, always looking into things. I could just imagine her wanting to chase it down each and every single cricket just for kicks. And plus the crickets come out at night, which is when I put them to bed, and so just tends to be the time that I think especially about her. But whatever it is, that grips the heart, and then it's like when you have something that is a blessing in your life and you take it for granted. And I'm not even suggesting that you don't enjoy it or you don't realize that something you have is a blessing. Nope, 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 that isn't going to work. We may full well know it, and it doesn't stop, some of the pain of loss. But sometimes I wonder, when we lose, wow, wow, wow. I would like to lose horseplay one of these times. Oh my goodness. Yeah, for some reason you really want to go over there. Okay, maybe, are you figuring it out? Yeah, there we go. Don't end up in the ditch. But do you know what I mean? Whether it's, you could say it could even be food. Right now we're in a time of plenty. We've always been in a time of plenty, where I live for food. I mean, we have too much of it, frankly. So you never have to know what it feels like to go hungry. And don't get me wrong, I know there's people in this world starving or whatever, but it isn't here. But I can guarantee you, if food was taken away, we all of a sudden would realize how badly we need it, how much we appreciated it when we had it. And like I say, I appreciate food. I think we all do. Who doesn't like having a good meal or that kind of thing? And that's just one simple example, but even for a puppy, she was just here and she was who she was, and I enjoyed her. I mean, there was times I played fetch with her, you spent time sitting with her, petting her, talking to her, whatever you do with the dog. All those activities I enjoyed. But there's still kind of that lingering feeling of regret, now that she's gone. Before her time, and that's probably the other part of it. She wasn't very old. It'd be one thing if she was, 15 years old and had lived a full life and was in pain. But we had a dog like that, and it was a family decision to, basically to put him down because he was just in so much pain. But not her. And, I think it's that way in life, in my family circle, in our church, a community that we attend. We know people who have lost children, who have lost other loved ones before their time. I mean, one of my business partners, he just lost his father. And, well, I mean, we could say his father was old. We all know we're going to go at some point. But it seems so callous to say that. And obviously you wouldn't want to say that to a grieving person. but a death or a loss seems particularly tragic, when it's before what most of us would consider time. And maybe there is no good time. The idea of losing my father or mother, that's still living, they're in their 70s. I don't like even thinking about that. But someday their time's going to be up, and people will look at their life, say they lived a full life, and, well, it was time. But it's still hard to contemplate even when it's time, let alone when it happens long before. Oh, it just kind of wigging its way across the street here. So I don't know what that feeling is called, if regret is even the name for it. In a human sense, what they would say about a father or mother that's working at the office, well, on your deathbed, nobody ever wishes they would have spent more time at the office. Well, I've always felt that's kind of a somewhat unfair type statement to make. Uh, you know, there may be, I'm aware of people in their older years who wished they would have worked a lot harder when they were younger. Maybe spent more time at the office so they had more, could have a more comfortable retirement, so they could have provided more to their family, more opportunities. There's that kind of regret too. So it isn't just that you get to the end and say, boy, I wish I'd have spent more time with my family. But I gotta say, in thinking about all these things, like I say, it seems like there's a million thoughts that come to mind in this. Um, it's caused me to look at my own family, my wife, uh, the friendships that I have, the relationships, such as they are. I mean, I'm an introvert. I don't have that many friends. Those few people who are willing to be considered one of my friends, I mean, they are gold. They are so precious to me. And, after something like this, just makes me think of just a lot of those relationships, and it makes me makes me want to pursue them more. And just being honest, wondering, why am I sitting here in the middle of the night making a farming simulator episode, talking to the screen for people that I'll probably never meet in real life, who ultimately, just something to watch and pass by. And no offense intended by saying that. I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, I pick up random videos on YouTube also and look at them. But I don't know. And maybe some of it is just the hurt of loss, and it near collision. Maybe some of it is just the pain of that, and your mind is focused on something else at the moment. And it's like, will things ever go back to normal? Will they ever be the same again? I'm not saying I'm not interested in this game. I'm as interested in it as I ever was. But I just wonder, are there things I need to be doing as a father that don't involve sitting in this chair, but that should involve me more with my boys, that are left, spend time with them while I have them at home, or my wife. And so, yeah, like I say, just thinking about some of those things, and what it takes to be and I'm sure all of us have tried to conceptualize what is a good person, what is, and I assume probably most of the people listening to this are probably male. I maybe shouldn't make that assumption, but it's probably only natural to ask the question, what is a man? What makes a man a man? What are his priorities? And just some of those things. And maybe that's too scattered to even leave here as to the kinds of things that go through the mind. I can't say I've had any earth-shattering revelations or resolutions. I've just felt maybe a bit more agitation inside to want to spend more time with my family, and yeah, just some of those things. So we'll see. I'm not ready to say I'm going to quit all this by a long shot. I mean, shoot, this is my goodness, this is my 95th episode on Gelvin Valley. Blows me away. So I'm slowly catching up to my friend Mike. I don't remember how many episodes he had on Old Ridge Farm, but I think he still has me beat by a long shot. His are longer though, so I'm cheating maybe by just trying to keep them to half an hour apiece. And even as I say that, I look at the clock here and I'm over half an hour recording time. Um, so there's maybe a lot that could be said. I am trying valiantly not to mope about this, and that's something else you learn in life, the hard way or the easy way or whatever. There's no changing what has happened. You can't change stuff that have happened. I can't bring the puppy back. Um, just can't. And so to sit and be overly concerned or spend an inordinate amount of time, that isn't productive either. So I'm trying to get off of that. I think this coming week will be a lot better. But this last week was hard. All I can leave you with, if you remember nothing else, is those things that are important to you, your loved ones, your family, whatever it is. Hold them close. Tell them how much they mean to you, and spend time with them. I think if I could spend more time with this puppy, I would jump on it. But I can't. And, as I just think of my wife, my children, time doesn't stop for anybody. And, perish the thought that it had been one of them that had died versus a dog. And so, just in thinking on that, it feels incumbent upon me to make sure I spend as much time with them as I can, and to make sure they know that I love them. So, with that thought, hopefully you all can do the same, and like I say, I don't mean to act as if I'm the only one that's ever had to go through something like this, and there are others out there that are facing much more difficult issues and challenges and could teach me a thing or two. So I say all this with humility and acknowledging that I have a lot to learn about it too. So, and it looks like a horseplay has a lot to learn. One of us does. So I'll leave you all with that. Have a wonderful day, morning, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. And may God bless all of you. Bye-bye for now. I'll see you on the next one.